What is your "we never speak of this again" story? Oh god. When I was 9 I had a friend, Donna. Donna was a little more mature than I was. She brought up 6. The only thing I knew about 6 was that it was bad because of an abstinence only billboard that was up by my grandma's house. Guess what part of America I live in? I told her that it was bad. And she said it's how you make babies. Stupid. So naturally she proposes we have 6. We were in our underwear and t-shirts. She leaned in to kiss me and I pulled away. Nothing of any sexual nature happened but she said that was it. We had 6. So I feared 4 weeks I was pregnant. And woke up in the middle of night sobbing to my mom that I was pregnant and I had 6 with Donna. She explained that's not how any of that worked. My mom and I have never mentioned it again in the past 11 years since. As of 56 minutes ago, Central Time, I turned 20. I'll count this popular comment as a part of my birthday. Thank you for all the votes. Edit 2. Holy hell. I had no idea this stupid moment of my childhood would be so popular. Thank you everyone. And a special thank you for the gold. I was on a road trip with a buddy. We were heading to a 3-day music fest in Tennessee. We drove through the night and were making good time. He was driving and asked me to take the wheel for a second. I did. He grabbed a Gatorade bottle, unzipped, and started pissing in the bottle. I was a bit uncomfortable with my hand 6 inches above his exposed D, but we were going 75 miles per hour and his foot was on the gas. We had more pressing concerns, is my point. He finishes up, and in one swift motion, rolls down the window, and lifts the Gatorade bottle toward the window to dump it. Wait, what are you do? Imagine a full bottle of warm piss filling up the entire interior of a car like a fine aerosol spray in a split second. That's what 75 miles per hour wind blowing inward does to a bottle of liquid trying to go outward. I learned that the hard way. Of course it got in my mouth. But that wasn't the worst of it. It was clogging my ears like I had been swimming. It was stinging my eyes. It went so far up my nose that I sneezed it out. Twice. We looked at each other. Dripping piss. All I could say was damn it. God damn it dude. He turned on the AC after a time. Piss droplets blew out onto us. It was dripping on us from the ceiling of the car. We rode for a long time in silence. Do you know what a person and the interior of a car covered in piss smell like after being in 103-degree heat for 3 days and no means to wash up? I do. I do. Edit. Now strangers are showering me with gold. Thanks. Not so much we never spoke of it again, but I've never spoken of it. In college. Skipped the day to play some COD. Got bored and decided to take matters into my own hands. My dorm room was on top floor, 4th, and the window blinds were open. As I was furiously taking out my frustrations, a window washer came up to the window on a suspended scaffold. We locked eyes for a second and he left my window and washed and slowly went back down. So I am in high school and got trashed at a party. Somehow I made it home. In the middle of the night I drunkenly wander into my parents' bedroom, sit on my dad's hamper and take a good, long piss. My dad woke up in the middle of it and pushed me back into my room. I wake up in the morning and go to the living room and see dad. He starts cracking up and told me what happened. Said we won't tell anyone and to go upstairs and clean out his hamper. Ended up having to buy him a new hamper. My mom never said anything about it so I have no idea if she knew. My dad passed away about 10 years ago. Since that time my mom told me a story about my dad getting drunk one night shortly after they were married and she woke up in the middle of the night to see him peeing in his hamper. Apparently, I am totally my father's daughter and have still never told anyone about it. Roommate told me to text him when I got home so we could smoke a cigarette. I thought that's ducking dumb. He'll be able to clearly hear me coming home. So I knocked on his bedroom door and waltzed in, only to see him taking a D-pic or masturbating. I'm still not sure which. He jolted up and said something along the lines of "whoa hey" and I just said "UHHI" and then we went outside and smoked a cigarette. Thanks for the gold. Warning. Graphic story. Years ago my girlfriend and I snuck off to a bathroom to duck after everyone passed out at a house party. We were young. She was fun. And she wanted it in her butt. You got it, champ. I was sitting on the closed toilet. and she was basically doing the stand-up reverse cowgirl thing. Felt great. At some point one of our drunk friends woke up to piss and came bursting into the bathroom. She jumps up in shock, causing an extremely fast and unexpected pull-out. Poop everywhere. The next morning the same drunk friend comes stumbling out of the bathroom after having passed out from his drunken midnight piss. Guys, I got really drunk last night and I think I might have it on the floor in the bathroom. Damn right you did. Apology accepted. Go clean that up. Walked in on a close family member masturbating in the living room. They saw that I saw. Immediately left to deal with something else. Came back and asked how their day had been. They said good thanks. Walked in on future mother-in-law while she was on the toilet taking a dump. She did attempt to address it shortly afterward, but I managed to it down and we have never spoken of it since. Because that's how we do things in Britain. Edit. I now see the typo. Duck it, I'm leaving it. When I was around 12 years old, my family was on vacation somewhere. Sleeping arrangements. Me mom on one bed and brother dad on the other. Except my dad had this ducking annoying habit of getting in bed and cuddling with mom in the morning. EWW. Anyways, one night, I had a very vivid dream. I dreamt that my period started and the blood was gushing. Like, holy duck. There was so much blood, you guys. And in the dream, I was running to the toilet to try to contain the blood. Plot twist. Piss dream got the best of me. I woke up a few minutes later soaked in piss. I'm pretty sure my mom and dad felt it too. And my pajamas stank like piss for the rest of our trip. No one said anything about it. P.S. I am so sorry for any hotel cleaning people who have to deal with this stuff every day. Here's a recent. My buddies and I actually voiced the phrase "we can never tell this story" in the truck afterwards. Road trip with two buddies, Cal and Joel, driving home. Late at night. We're in the mindset that we're tired of sitting in the truck and ready to be home, so we drove through the night to get the miles behind us. Finally, about 3 AM we pull off the highway onto a forest road and drive until we see a spot to camp. Decent grassy clearing. Looks like someone has had the same idea here before. We pile out and grab our tents and start setting up. Joel is tired and quiet. Cal has the inhuman ability of speaking in a continuous run-on sentence for hours. Doesn't matter what time. Wake him up at 4 AM and from a dead sleep he'll start telling you a story before his feet hit the ground. He's funny, too, so it keeps the road trip interesting. Setting up camp. Cal is deep in a half-story, half-rhetorical essay. When he stops, cold, I look over his way, shining my headlamp on him. His lamp trails off into the trees. Are those eyes? I look where he's looking and stare for a good while. Might just be dew on the leaves, or a marker on the trees. Wouldn't be surprised if this road is used for motorcycle races. We stare a while longer. Neither of us can relax. Finally, I grab a shovel and start walking toward the little glowing beads. Neither of us were going to sleep without resolution. Duck guys. Go to bed. Joel announces with confidence. There's no predators in this area. There are. I've seen both bears and cougars in the area. Joel isn't from the area. Cal and I continue on. I cover about half the ground between me and the orbs and I pause. It's so dark and they're so far away I can't quite make out if they're moving slightly or if it's just the shadows cast from my headlamp. I throw a rock. I yell. Pause. Then they blink. Okay, yep. It's an animal and it's not scaring with rocks. I say toward Cal. Slowly walking backward. It clearly sees us. It's watching me. Cal agrees. Let's just watch it for a while. We finish setting up our tents, keeping a light on the creature at all times. Finally, it starts to move. The two little orbs raise a few inches off the ground and start strafing us, rocking ever so slightly back and forth as they start a wide circle skirting our campsite. A slight pause here and there, but they continue to close in even as we unleash a thunderstorm of rocks and yelling and quickly sidestep toward the truck. Joel. Whatever it is, it's moving our way. Keep a light on it. Keep a light on it. Joel yells and fumbles with his tent zipper. He's already taken his pants off and comes booking toward the truck, emanating his own light from his pasty white thighs. He gets inside and sits in the back. Cal and I are perched on either side of the truck ready to jump inside so fast we're bound to knock heads over the gear shift. The creature is behind a bush about 20 feet from the truck at this point. The leaves are shifting slightly. It's still coming. Cal and I share a couple words of encouragement. Waiting. Then the bushes part. When the claw sunk into Cal's neck, he screamed and I dove over the cab. Just kidding. The bushes part and a ducking deer walks out and right up to the truck. Turns out people did camp here before and apparently they fed the ducking deer. Whatever survival instinct once was in this long-legged forest rodent was long gone. And we were 3 men in their jammies crouching in a truck, hiding from it. Full disclosure, I've actually told the story a few other times. Edit. Oh wow. Thanks for the gold. Edit 2. Thanks y'all for the kind critique of my writing. It's a hobby, but you're encouraging me to do more. A close friend and I had just gone through breakups and were drinking a lot that week out of depression. One night we end up cuddling to a movie. Things get intimate, hot, passionate, messy sex ensues all over a suede couch. We awoke in the morning and without speaking, grabbed cleaning supplies, scrubbed the hell out of the couch, then clothed ourselves and went to work. Since then we had a laugh about it but we agreed never to bring it up again. We remain great friends. Growing up, we were poor, and as a teen I didn't really have access to porn or whatnot, but I was quite a writer, so I would write exotic fiction as a dart release, in a spiral. Well, one day after writing a particularly sordid story, I kinda came to and realized I shouldn't leave that stuff around. I went to the kitchen, intending to throw the spiral away, set it down, got a drink. The phone rang. I answered, and left the spiral in the kitchen. Forgotten. An hour later my mother comes to me with the spiral and questions. I won't get into it but she described how a lot of my stories wouldn't really ever happen and were a bit extreme. She threw it away and it never came back up. I was drinking vodka, and I had this guy pal that I was trying to bang, but he refused to bang a drunk girl while he was sober. I grabbed my phone and started looking for some action. No such luck. I eventually passed out and went to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, I read the texts I'd sent in absolute horror. Me. What are you doing? G. Getting ready for bed. You? Me. Drunk. Topless. And looking for some fun. G. Lol. Good luck. I'm going to bed. G. Happened to my boss who just started a few weeks ago. At the time Facebook would merge your friend's contact info into your address book. I never spoke of it again, and had a difficult time looking him in the eye. My college roommate and I were in Italy, and we were lost at a small town train station where there's no English and no one spoke English at all. The way the train station is set up is that we have to take stairs underground, and take stairs back up to cross the platform. We were trying to figure out which train to take, and ended up going back and forth since we barely understood any Italian. After a few trips going up and down, we decided to just cross back and forth across the tracks. This was way before smartphones, so we were in the middle of the tracks while I used a compass to figure out which direction Florence was. Then we realized it was noisier than usual, looked up, and saw a train coming. In panic, we ran in front of the train to the platform across instead of backwards to safety. Realized we nearly won Darwin Awards. We agreed not to tell anyone about how dumb we were. My now ex-wife wants it in her hand while we were driving down the interstate because it was too far to the closest bathroom. Edit. First off, thanks so much for the upvotes. To answer some questions for y'all, she held it in her hand for a few miles until we made it to a gas station. I offered several times to pull over so she could at least do it on the side of the road, but she refused. To this day anytime I hear somebody say handy it, that's all I can think about. My best guy friend and I both went through really bad breakups around the same time. That night we got really drunk and attempted to have sex. We stopped after a few minutes, looked at each other, burst out laughing, and agreed we would never speak of it again. It's been 6 years. He's happily married with a baby boy. We still get together to catch up every couple of months. Have never spoken of the incident again. Capital K. So I was dating this girl and she was at my place. I was 20 and she was 18. Blonde, about average weight and like me, a complete nerd. Anyway, we were having sex and I had no condoms so I did the pull-out method. I didn't wait until I was on the edge. Just until I felt that tingle, I'd pull out and jack off into a cup. It was a Tim Hortons cup with some old coffee, maybe like 1/4 still full. Anyway, later that night, my parents surprised us with more coffee which we drank. I then placed the cup down and we watched TV. Well, I placed the new cup beside the cum cup. Still watching TV, I'd grabbed the cum cup and drank from it. I was mortified when the cold, old coffee touched my lips. She saw this and clued in what had happened, then said it was good to know I swallow. So yeah, I drank my own cum spiked coffee. When my best buddy and I were still in high school, we decided to go up an old mountain road and do some underage drinking in his car. We were up there for a while and all of a sudden we see headlights behind us. Fearing it was a cop, we hid the beer and my friend looks over to me and says just follow my lead. Turns out it was a cop. We rolled down the windows and he asked what we were up to this late at night up in the mountains. I'm sitting in the passenger seat freaking out hoping he can't smell any of the beer. My friend looks over at the cop and in the calmest voice says, "It's our 2-year anniversary tonight and we were trying to get away from everything." He then reaches over, picks up my hand and kisses the back of it. The cop looked at us for another few seconds and told us to have a nice and safe night. Just another couple of gay boys enjoying themselves up in the mountains at 1 AM. I was 6, and we were moving. There was an electrical socket I had never seen before. I had a paper clip. It looked like it fit right in, and it did. I had a shock in my whole hand, but fortunately dropped the paper clip out of the light socket quickly enough so that nothing else happened. I went upstairs and told my mom that my hand felt funny after I'd stuck a paper clip in a socket. She told me never to tell my dad, because it had upset him to think that I could have been killed due to my own stupidity without his being there to protect me. I'm an only child, was a sickly baby, and I'm still a daddy's girl thanks to that. It's been 30 years, and I still haven't told him. My now ex-husband had to have thyroid surgery a few years ago. He was having a lot of swelling so they gave him some Percocet to take. Anyone who has taken Percocet before knows that it might work very well but it's not without side effects. One of those side effects happens to be constipation. We knew this would happen. My husband and I are both doctors. I urged him to keep eating fiber or take a stool softener or something. He laughed it off. "Babe, my bowels are amazing. Nothing's going to happen to me." Days passed and he continued to heal, requiring less and less of the medication. I noticed his appetite hadn't picked up much but I thought, hey, cut him a break. He just had surgery. That night I found him on the couch clutching his stomach and scowling. Immediately I knew what was up and said as gently as I could, "Now will you take the stool softener?" He relented. Hours passed. Stool softeners don't work instantly, and they were up against days of hardened poo. My husband began pacing and sweating. He has a pretty high pain tolerance and I began to feel alarmed. We massaged his poor, distended tummy, and you could literally feel the lumps of hard poo. He is a pretty thin guy, not much subcutaneous fat. After hours of stool softeners, tummy rubbing and fluids, he started to really sweat. Now I was really worried. Had he puffed? Suddenly he leaped up, ran into the bathroom and slammed the door. I sat outside waiting for a noise. A fart. A wail. Something. Finally I heard him sob my name. I walked in and my cool, aloof husband was bawling his eyes out, sitting on the toilet and pushing on his stomach like an uncomfortable little kid. He turned green and I immediately recognized that face. I had just enough time to grab a trash can to catch the vomit that came streaming out dart seconds before an enormous shot and a huge blast of diarrhea tur chunks. There was my surgeon husband, crying, barfing, hitting and hanging onto my arm for dear life. It was so painful to watch and to this day he says it's the only time he's truly been in 10/10 pain. Yeah, we didn't really talk about that day much after that. He never did disrespect the constipating powers of Nux from that day forward. Edit. Guys, I love how the only comment that's ever gotten me gold is about my ex-husband's literal it. A friend and I got super high in his garage. We started talking about previous sexual conquests and we realized we each had an experience with our cousins early on in life. We looked at each other, finished our session and promptly agreed that that was a secret we took to our grave. Came home drunkenly with roommate. He did the whole naked man thing in his doorway, saying has been attracted to me blah blah. We fool around. I give him a hand job. He goes limp and I realize he has fallen asleep in my hands. It was so awkward I went and fell asleep in my own bed in the other room. Woke up. Never mentioned it. Nothing. He moved out the next week. I still cringe thinking about it. We're still friends though. I almost died. I asked the person that saved me not to tell anyone, especially my wife and family, because they'd freak out. My dad wanted to show me a video on YouTube. Pulled out his phone. Hit the YouTube app and in the search bar, huge white ass. He hurriedly hit the delete button. I told him next time to just Google the letters PAWG. One night when I was in college I was really drunk and hungry, but every place that delivered food was closed because it was like 4 AM. Then I remembered that there was a McDonald's like 2-3 miles from campus that I could walk to. I checked the website and it said it was open 24 hours. So I started to make my way. As I got close to the student center on the edge of campus, I started second guessing whether or not that McDonald's was open 24/7 or not. So I decided to pop into the computer lab in the basement of the center, which was always open, to go online and check again. The lights were off in the lab so I thought I would be the only person there. But when I entered the room and the lights came on I see a security guard sitting at one of the computers. He's startled by me and scrambles to close the window he was looking, which I could already tell was Pornhub. I didn't know how to react so I just sat down at a computer and didn't say a word. He breaks the awkward silence by getting up and saying, "Well, it's about that time," and then making his way to the door. I still don't know what exactly he meant by that, but my response was just to nod and say yup. That guard and I crossed paths quite a bit after that and it was always a little awkward. But at the same time we had like this unspoken agreement about that night and he would always be nicer to me and let me off when others would have written me up for something I did. I walked in on my best friend and his sister's girlfriend ducking like wild animals. I blurted out, "OURB," and left the room. We had a beer later. They are married now. My best friend and his sister's ex-girlfriend. His sister found greener pastures elsewhere. Had a situation in 8th grade. There were a stack of papers on a projector. I'm old. For whatever reason, there was a mad dash to get them, and as I reached for one I overshot and grabbed a girl's tit. We both looked at each other knowingly and pretended like it never happened. Didn't need to even say anything. My dad found out how to stream videos from his phone to the TV. He's testing it out and 16-year-old me asks to have a go. I scroll randomly through all these untitled videos he has in his phone and click on one. The dirtiest, filthiest gangbang porn pops up on the TV in front of both of us and I just hand him the phone and walk out. Never spoke about this since. Oh man. I've got a lot of these. Most recently though, my third tandem skydive. The only one I haven't had recorded yet, because I already jumped at that field. The main chute deployed wrong and had to be cut away, and the backup chute was tangled too. But thankfully the expert was able to untangle it and land us safely. My dad was watching from the ground, but thankfully had no clue how serious the situation was. A girl at party got wasted and puked all over. After that everyone left except for a few of us to help take care of her. While she was vomiting into a bowl she began alternating between puking and farting. We all looked at each other and busted up laughing. This was high school so we all agreed to never tell anyone. Mine happened a couple years back. I was just minding my own business, going about my day, when I get a text from my dad. Of course, I read it since it's from my dad. The text reads, "Can there be Slava playing tonight's entertainment? I need you. Me and my sister once found a whip in their cupboard so it's easy to put 2 and 2 together." 5 minutes later, the most sincere, "Oops, I have ever seen" pops up on my screen. Never responded to that text and I have never brought it up, but we both know it happened.